Looks like maybe we got a little lag.
Yeah. We are live.
All right, fantastic.
We should be live.
There's a little bit of a delay.
Yeah. You should be good.
That's all right.
Yeah, guys. If you can hear us, and I believe people can hear us now. If you can hear us, kindly send that into the chat. Let us know that you can hear us via the YouTube link that we shared. So I'm waiting for people to let us know that they can hear us, and then we'll proceed with our discussion. Before that, I just got myself a nice sandwich. I'm going to dive into that. We're supposed to be live now. Please, if you are here and you can hear us, I need confirmation that we are live. So please send something to the chat. Let us know that we are.
Oh, they hear us. All right, fantastic.
They hear us. Yeah. Right, we are here. How are you, my brother?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Welcome. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. Well, I mean, we were lab mates.
Yeah.
We are lab
We are
mates.
still.
We were office mates until you changed
Yeah.
office.
My
So-
plant needed some sunlight.
Some sunlight, yeah, I understand. I mean, for me, I know you. We've had discussions, multiple discussions. I've
Yeah.
told you how it is back in Ghana. We don't go about beating people or attacking people or
Well,
harassing people.
that's good.
But it's not legal
Yeah.
yet. In any country in Africa, though, it's not legal yet.
Interesting,
Right?
right?
And that is why it's interesting for me to talk about it today.
All right.
I love it. I love how it is. But yeah, for the purpose of the video, and we know that YouTube is a public platform.
Yeah.
So I want us to first of all put out a disclaimer that it's just a discussion.
Yeah.
So if any of us say anything that goes against anybody at all, we apologize for that right from the beginning. We are not here to defame, disbank, or disrespect anybody. We are just going to have a discussion. I'm going to go hard, he's going to go hard. We're just going to be like that. So, I mean, I am straight, so I'm going to be for the straight community. And he's going to be for the LGBTQ plus community. So we are just going to have that discussion. We are lab mates. We work in the same lab.
Yeah.
We were office mates until like about a week or two ago.
Yeah, not long.
And he's my classmate. So it's just a friendly discussion. So don't think that he hates straight people or hates
No.
LGBT.
Nothing like that.
All right, guys. So why don't we begin with,
All right.
about 4 days ago, I shaved my beard. All of it. All
You
of
know,
it.
sometimes we make decisions, and sometimes we regret them afterwards.
So do you regret making a decision to trans?
Oh, most certainly not.
Not?
No. That's something I think a lot of people go through, right? Is you realize this thing about yourself,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And it's definitely not the societal norm.
Mm.
You know, I think that's a pretty safe thing to say, is
Mhm.
that being trans is definitely in the minority.
Yeah.
And so you learn this thing about yourself, and I think a lot of people go through this phase where they try to not be trans, because it's hard,
Okay.
right? Like, it comes with a lot of hardship that cisgender people just will never have to even think about.
Mm.
And so I know I definitely went through a period where I was like, is there any way that I could just not be this?
Okay.
And, I did it for a year or two, and, at a certain point, you just can't.
Yeah, it
You
didn't
can't
work for
keep
you.
kind of living a lie.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, I mean, the stress just sort of got to me, and I made the decisions I did, and I've never
So
regretted them since.
do you think you can equate that to me feeling like, oh, I want to shave my beard?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no.
I mean, it's my feeling, right? I want to shave my beard, so I want to shave my beard. Do
Yeah.
you think it's the same as
I mean,
I feel like I am a woman. I feel like I am a man.
I think if you compound that multiple times, I think you're getting there.
Yeah.
So that feeling of I think there's a very particular feeling that dysphoria is, right? It's just that there is something wrong. There's something that's not me. I always equated it to the body I was living in felt like a hotel room, right? You can exist there, you can live,
But it's not your
you know,
home.
but it's not. Yeah, it's not your home. It's not quite right. It feels like something borrowed.
That's interesting.
You know? And once I had started transitioning, all of a sudden things started making sense. I started liking things about myself. I was like, hold on, what do you mean that other people like things about themselves?
Yeah.
Like, that was just completely shocking to me. Because I just couldn't even imagine, like, enjoying my body as it existed.
Oh.
And yeah. No, so like, yeah, you take your, say you're like, I don't like having a beard.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's fair, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you didn't like having a beard and you didn't like being tall and you didn't like being strong. Like you compound that multiple times.
But how, so in the beard discussion, for instance, in the beard analogy, it will grow back. How do you continuously fight that natural? I mean, we are scientists. We know that hormones are going to be excreted anyways, right? It's going to get
100%.
into the system. Trying so hard to convert you back. How do you fight that?
I mean, I think what you're talking about here is like physical changes, right? You shave your beard, it's going to grow back, right? If you didn't want a beard, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sort of depends on what sorts of things we're talking about. This is something that I'm personally really passionate about. I really like this side of things. I got a degree in biochemistry. I still am a scientist. Like I really like the medical aspect of things. And so, I mean, in the case of the beard, right? If you never wanted to grow a beard again, laser hair removal is pretty much your one option, right? Because there are certain things that both testosterone and estrogen will do that are irreversible.
Okay.
Right? So, say you go through your classic male puberty and you grow a beard, right? You can't start taking estrogen, take testosterone blockers, and then stop growing a beard. That's not how that works. You will still grow a beard.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, in that case, facial hair is a permanent change that occurs when your body has an excess, for lack of a better word here, of testosterone.
So are there some things within you that you think are not going to change?
Yeah, my height. Yeah, that's 100%. It's something that, and it's really interesting to see different people's experiences have sort of shown us that things are a little bit more fluid and what things aren't.
But do you think, wait, I mean, before you continue,
Yes.
do you think you would have been taller if you were a man, if you were born as a man?
If I had higher testosterone levels as I was growing up, 100%.
You would have been taller.
I would have been, not by much probably. I probably still would have been short. But I probably would have gotten a couple more inches.
When I know we talk about it, we laugh about it. You were too
100%.
short and all that. I did not really pay attention to it until we took our recent picture.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn!
Well, people do say I have enough personality to make up for it.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And also, I think until you are measuring, you don't really pay attention. Yeah.
Does it really matter in day-to-day life? No.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean,
right.
It does give me an excuse to make people get things off shelves for me, but that's really about it.
Let's begin.
All right.
From where it all began.
Okay.
First of all, I want you to, because some of my audience don't know you, so
all right, that's
do
fair.
a little bit of introduction, and then I want you to tell us about where it all began.
Okay.
When did you start
thinking about
feeling
these
it?
things?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
So for basic general introduction, I'm Vincent James. I'm from a small town in rural Indiana. Grew up. My graduating class was 150 students. And we had to pull from 3.5 towns to get that many. So definitely small, rural, very,
Everybody knows each other.
Yeah, everybody knows each other. Everybody's pretty homogenous. And then, I went to college. I started studying chemical engineering. Decided that wasn't for me. Graduated with a degree in biochemistry. Did research on human proteins, didn't really love it a whole lot, and now I'm here with Desmond doing research on plants here at Washington State University. So I guess that's really the major background on that front.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think when I really first started realizing that things were different for me than they are for other people. You know, I mean, like, I went through life and just sort of kept my head down, studied a lot, did well in school because I knew that was my way out of a small town, right? And so I got to college freshman year, super excited, and I had volunteered to live in the gender inclusive housing because I knew that they didn't have enough students to fill that, and you know, something that I thought that queer rights were really important, and so that was a position that I volunteered into. And during move-in, I met a trans man for the first time.
Okay.
And he was, first of all, like, the coolest dude I'd ever met. We were great friends for years. But I sort of realized that day, I was like, oh, these are people that exist, right? Because I think in classic media portrayals, I think usually we see trans women, which not a bad thing. But it's just that I'd never seen, I didn't even know that was a thing that could happen, right? This wasn't something we talked about at all. And so it was really cool. I met him, he was a wonderful dude. And yeah, I started thinking about, and I started talking to him, you know, we got to be good friends, and hearing some of his experiences, I was sitting there, I was thinking to myself, I was like, what do you mean not everybody feels this? You know, what do you mean that this is weird? You know, just absolutely loathing my body, you know, and hating social interactions because of the way people perceived me, you know, like I was incredibly socially anxious, like very low self-esteem and all of that, and I started talking to him and I was like, so this is a thing that some people feel, and it's not normal.
You know,
normal in that
sense. So at some point, and I'm going to let you explain all of that, but I'm just
go
going to,
for it,
as you go by, I'll just chip in. Sometimes people think that people who do all of these things, they do it for clown. You just want attention.
Yeah, some people, that's definitely something that I've heard in the media before.
So at that point, you were just looking for some attention on yourself, right?
I don't think so. No, I did not like attention. I still to this day do not like attention. So I'm a very anxious person.
No, but so you weren't sure of it. Let me just say you didn't know about it until that man came to your school. You were probably going to live like a female.
I think eventually I would have figured some things out. You know, like as I think just as I consumed more media, as I got out of that small town, everyone is the same bubble, I think I would have encountered the idea of being trans at some point. That's something that, so I didn't have the words to explain my experience until I met him, right, in college. But a lot of the signs, a lot of the, hey, maybe you're not cis, sort of indicators, a lot of those occurred way before. And that was something that gave me a lot of confidence in my decision to transition, right? Is it wasn't just a phase, you know? And I waited years. After realizing that I was trans, I knew that my family wasn't particularly accepting. And so I didn't really do much about it. You know? I wore men's clothes, but I mean, that was fine, you know? My mom didn't. Oh, yeah. My mom didn't care about that. She wasn't too worried about it.
What about your dad?
So at that time, I wasn't in contact with my dad. I hadn't talked to him in like 8 years at that point.
Do you think you did that because you think that if he got to know that you were doing some of these things, he was going to be mad?
I mean, we hadn't been talking since, I mean, my parents divorced when I was in elementary school, middle school, and divorce didn't go super well. And so because of that, I lost contact with my dad through all of that. So he wasn't even really a factor at the time, you know. Like I didn't think I'd ever talk to him again.
So what age was it when you started feeling? And you know what's interesting about you? That made me want us to do this is the fact that you still maintained your interest in men. You know. So I don't know how to. So, you know, that's what I mean. the question I was going to ask is,
Yeah.
when did you start feeling like you are interested in the other, or in the same, in people of the same gender? But
Yeah.
that does not apply to you at that time.
So it kind of does, though.
Okay.
So in high school and, you know, in early college, I had dated dudes, you know? Like, I knew that I liked men, but something about being straight just didn't quite feel right. You know, didn't really like women all that much. I was like, maybe, but no, not really my thing.
You were female by then.
Yes, yeah. I
And
was
you-
still presenting as a woman.
Okay.
And yeah, I don't know. I had this. I definitely liked men, but I'm like, I just don't feel like this media portrayal that I'd seen of like what a straight woman looks like. You know, like I'm like I just
Okay.
don't relate to this at all. This just
Okay.
doesn't quite feel right. You
So
know?
it wasn't
And-
your sexual. So the feeling wasn't about your sexual. I guess I would say sexual orientation. But I
No.
want to. So it wasn't about how you felt towards any of the
Yeah,
genders.
no.
It was just how you felt inside.
Exactly,
Of you. You
exactly.
didn't want to present as what you see out there as a woman.
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, like, you know, you see romance movies and
yeah,
books and all that
yeah.
stuff. Twilight came out when I was in high school,
Yeah.
you know? And I don't know, I saw this portrayal and I just did not relate to it.
You
at
don't.
all.
You don't want to be pampered.
No, I mean, not in that way. I don't know, something about it didn't feel right. Something viscerally inside me, you know? And I didn't know, I don't know still how to
women.
explain it.
You don't want to be in the group where we will carry you and you don't want
not
that.
particularly. That's not
Okay.
something that I really wanted, and I encountered. I don't know. I encountered media that portrayed gay men, and you know, of course, you don't. And not very often, you know, because
Yeah.
his family wasn't super okay
Yeah.
with it. But like I saw it and I was like, oh man, like that's so cool. Like man, I wish I could be one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, which makes no sense, right? 'Cause at the time I didn't know trans people existed. It was really strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you know I got older, I got out, moved out on my own,
Yeah.
and I met a trans man. I was like, oh my goodness,
Okay.
this is actually an option. This is a thing that you can be in, and it can work. You know.
Yeah, but okay, so break it down for me.
Okay.
What exactly about men interested you around that time? Like, what did you see? What was? You said, oh God, I wish I was like that. I wish I had that. What was it?
Yeah, so that's the thing that gets really tricky, right? Is am I into this person or do I just wish I was this person? Right?
Okay.
There's a
Confusion.
it's still like even today there's still a little bit of like, man, am I envious of that guy or do I actually like
him?
yeah,
I
like
guess.
it's
That's
not
really
super-
tricky.
Yeah, it's not super clear cut.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know. I think I always appreciated just like masculinity and what it was and what it represented, you
Yeah.
know? I don't know, I appreciated the body, you know, the muscles, the strength, all of that. I think social roles
Guys,
are a
if
little
you are listening, men are strong. I mean, some of the ladies, they make masculine right now, especially in America. And I got here not long ago, but I can still tell you, a lot of people make masculinity look a little bit negative.
I think it's very easy to take it in a negative direction.
Okay.
You know, I think societally the systems are definitely set up to support men more than women, more
Okay.
often than not,
Okay.
right? The rules were written by men. 9 times out of 10 they're being enforced by men. You know, it makes it very easy.
I've heard that. And with you, so I'm going to consider you because you moved from one to the other. So
Yeah.
probably you know a little bit about how people get treated on either side.
Probably a little bit.
But actually, when you say that, it's not true. When you say the rules are written by men, yes, it was because around that time men were the more like the leaders.
Yeah.
But can you tell me one single law that favor men instead of women? Because I can tell you about the gender rights, the gender whatever.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways we've shifted. I think our laws are a little bit more politically correct now.
Okay.
I think in some ways we've revised some of those. I know you look 50 years ago, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
As in, like, women weren't allowed to buy a car without a man's
And
signature and approval and stuff.
Me as black, this probably would have been an option.
It's we've got a dark history on a lot of things, and I think in a lot of ways, I think a significant number of the laws have been revised, but at the end of the day, what's written in a law book is not the end all be all of the law. And I hate to say that. I wish it didn't work like that, right? But unless someone has enough money to hire a lawyer, start a lawsuit, get a judge that's going to take their side, there's a lot of layers to enforcing those laws. And I think a lot of people get away with not complying with those.
No, actually, for me, what I think is the current legislature that we have rather favors women. Because, once again, there's no one single law that goes for men and against women.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of them that people can mention that are actually significantly for women. Right? Nowadays, people are going... It's not even nowadays. We had always been... And the term affirmative action, that term alone was to support women.
I mean, I think laws like affirmative action are striving to undo a lot of the harm that's been done.
Okay.
Right? So, there are definitely systems put in place that disfavor certain, especially minorities, right? And I think there are laws being introduced. You would say favor. I would say maybe give them a chance.
Okay.
There's a certain level of things, right? If you look at, especially, there's a saying that if I know your zip code, I can predict your future.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Like, if you live in a poor neighborhood,
Okay.
you're not going to have the same opportunities.
That's the average we live in every cities, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, you mentioned that, there aren't laws that explicitly give women explicit disadvantages, right? But I mean, if we look at societal systems, right? Paid maternity leave, I don't think is guaranteed at all in the United States.
But there's no paid paternity leave.
Yeah, well, there's nothing for anybody, but 9 times out of 10, right? Just based off the societal way things typically function, right?
No, but in Ghana,
usually it's women staying home taking care of kids.
Yeah, and in Ghana, paid maternity leave is allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's allowed, but your companies aren't obligated
to make it happen.
to
No,
make
I think
it happen.
I think in Ghana it is.
Here in the U.S., I mean.
Okay.
In the U.S., as far as I'm aware, the last time I checked,
Okay.
there is no required paid maternity leave.
Is that why you transform a woman?
No.
Because
another
when-
factor to consider, right? So it's technically not legal to discriminate against pregnant women, but we have at-will employment, right? Which states that you could fire somebody for any reason at all. It could be, I don't like the shirt you're wearing today. And so long as it's not an explicit protected class, it's fine to fire them. That's A-okay.
Oh.
So the problem is, right, say a woman on the work gets pregnant, right?
Yeah.
Company doesn't want to have to deal with maternity
Pregnancy
leave
and all of
or
that.
having to give a replacement for a couple months or something
Or
like that, right?
puking around the office.
Yeah. Let's say they're like, I don't really want to have her employed here because she's pregnant, but that's the quiet part. We don't say that part.
Yeah.
They fire her for being tardy on a Wednesday.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So technically it's not legal, but it's not exactly hard to get away with, right? And I think that's kind of a struggle point that comes into play, right? Is you can write as many laws as you want, but unless you have the facilities to enforce them, how much does it really mean? Usually not a whole lot.
Right.
So you get into some dicey territory. Passing laws is great and all, but the facilities with which to enforce them are what's
I do.
lacking in a lot of ways.
In any ways.
Yeah.
Even in our daily activity, in our daily interactions, personally, I think that women are treating better. They've always been, and they are always enjoying better treatment, even from men, like random men. It doesn't have to be the leaders of the society or the system, even from regular friends.
Yeah.
Because if we go to any place and you're a woman, I want to open the door for you. I want to carry the heavy load instead
Yeah.
of you.
I mean, I think there's a little bit of that in the way of like chivalry and whatnot, you know. But I think there's also something that's really easy to overlook is the violence, right? That's something that happens with scary frequency. You'll see it a lot, especially with the incoming of social media and all of that, and just how easy it is to present and report these things. I mean, I've seen repeatedly videos of women being harassed on the street. I mean, we see it every day in
but
lawsuits and
also,
whatnots. I mean, and it happens more than you would think.
but also men get harassed, don't they?
Not as often, I don't feel like.
So who harasses the women? Men?
And usually men, 9 times out of 10. From what I've seen, these are not statistics.
Okay, yeah.
This is just my own personal interpretation.
Yeah. I mean, but also there are a lot of men out there homeless on the street and women.
Oh, there are plenty. Well, I don't know.
Right?
I don't know who's more prevalent in homeless populations.
No, obviously it's going to be men.
I don't know.
Well, maybe we will check the statistics.
Yeah, it'd be something worth seeing.
But clearly, and once again, according to what I have seen, like you said, this is not statistics, but according to what I've seen, you can see 10 homeless people, and maybe 8 of them will be men and men only. And normally, the women you see as homeless will either have a boy as either a child, a son, or a boy as some form of a partner, because it's the man's responsibility to get them home, and he probably couldn't. But anyway, let's shift back into our main discussion here. So I mean, how did your family take it?
Not particularly well. So I mean, I had mentioned that my parents had divorced when I first came out. I was only really in contact with my mom. Like she's the person I'd lived with in high school, and summers off in college kind of thing. And she did not take it very well. She was pretty upset. She wanted to put me in conversion therapy, which at the time, and I think maybe still now, was legal in my home state.
You didn't care about your mom's feeling?
I mean, I definitely cared, but I mean, we had personal issues before this point.
So you think, to be apt, you chose your feelings over your mom's feelings?
I'm not sure I'd quite say that.
No, but that's
I was very much. I didn't come at it in a hostile way.
You don't have to be, but
I knew that this was going to be a lot for her to take in, right? Like I knew that this was like a big deal, and I also knew that she wasn't going to take it very well. I had a couple months before told her that I was involved in like the school LGBTQ plus organization, right? We did social, professional events, that sort of thing. I planned trips to conferences. I was managing the budget, things that you want to hear that your kid was doing, right? Like really good things, like I've got leadership experience now. It's gonna look good on a resume. And she was very angry.
Yeah, because that was
Incredibly
LGBTQ.
Angry. Exactly. She was very upset because she doesn't like queer people. She doesn't feel like they should exist. She feels like they're an affront to God, that sort of thing. That's the quote. She was very much upset about it. And so I knew that it wasn't going to go over well. But I also knew...
Again, there are so many terms.
There are a lot.
Sometimes I get mixed up.
That happens.
Transgender.
Yeah.
LGBTQ.
Yeah.
Queer.
Yep.
Cis.
Yep.
bi.
Yep. Yeah, there are a lot of terms, and I think
Explain some of them to
yeah,
us.
yeah.
Somebody was
So,
asking,
so
what
something
is
that's-
trans? What is
Oh,
cis?
yeah,
What is
most definitely. Sorry about that. I should have been a little more clear. So a really good resource to check out if you still have questions after this video. There's an organization called Safe Zone, and I think they have their resources posted on their website, and they do trainings. They're a national organization, and they do trainings about all of this stuff because, I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say we all know that nobody got taught this stuff in high school.
Yeah.
This isn't part of the standard curriculum, and we know that.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody expects anyone to be an
I mean
absolute
that.
expert on any
Yeah.
of this. And so I think it's important to note that, like, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to not know. It's okay to ask questions.
Correct.
Google's a fantastic resource. It has so much information.
I mean, yeah. But tell
Yeah,
us.
but
Yeah.
on this in this case,
Yeah.
so transgender just means that you're assigned sex at birth. So let me start over here. So
I mean, if you say you are assigned sex,
yeah, so
look, if
there's
you
a
were
reason.
born
There's a reason
with,
to use
with
that word.
if you were born with a prick,
Yeah.
or you were born with something else, we know we can
So
see you are
you
not
would-
assigned. You came
you would
out
think
with it.
that. But so if, I think like the most standard version of the acronym is LGBTQ plus, right?
Yeah.
Well, between a lot of people also include an I and an A.
Okay.
So the I stands for intersex. So there are people who are not explicitly
Male or female.
male or female, right? And it actually happens surprisingly frequently.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, definitely in the minority, but it happens often enough that it's definitely a conversation to be had.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at things, and this is where me as a biologist gets excited.
Yeah.
There's things like Klinefelter syndrome. So you could have extra X and or Y chromosomes.
Why don't we first of all
Yes.
finish with the explanation of the terms, right?
Yes.
Define some of the terms.
Yes,
and then we'll
most
come back to
definitely.
this
So
one, yeah.
the reason why I say assigned sex at birth
Okay.
is because sometimes they get it wrong, for lack of a better word here.
So you have excuse my words on. And
Yeah.
I think YouTube is sensitive to this, but I would probably like free some of them.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have you were born with a penis,
Yeah.
but you don't want us to call you a male.
I
You
mean,
think they are wrong
sometimes
if they
I
are
think the best example of this is, you know, there could be a child that's born,
Mhm.
right, and they look completely phenotypically, physically, they look female. It's possible that that child has XY chromosomes and an androgen insensitivity, so their body can't respond to testosterone.
Mhm.
It doesn't initiate the pathways that
Mm-hmm.
typically turns on for male development.
Yeah, but
So now this things get tricky, right?
no, but
Because-
that's just like according to the data, that's just like a few times.
yeah.
It's just
But-
like you were born with a cataract on your eye, basically. And actually, for and I am in a group of some scientists,
Yeah.
way back from Ghana, and we say, and I think that, well, I'll ask you, but we think that this is if what you're saying that a person can't maybe respond to the hormones
Yeah.
that decide the gender,
Mhm.
that is an anomaly, right?
Yeah,
It's-
it's I think maybe about 1% of the population, I think.
And it's
Um,
it's because there was something wrong with you were supposed to be. So we know that when something goes wrong with your DNA, your chromosomes, or something like that, and if you were born with a birth defect, you don't have one leg, you don't have
Okay.
you don't have a full arm.
Yeah.
We work around solving that issue, don't we? If
So-
you were born with your head fused together with your other twin.
So that's actually a thing that's been like a pretty significant problem is, you know, babies will come out and they'll have maybe
Some birth
ambiguous,
defects.
yeah, or there's some ambiguous genitalia. It's happened quite frequently in the past. I think from what I've heard, they're kind of stopping doing this quite so much. But I know something that was really common, especially in the past, is surgical intervention.
Yeah.
but that
Yeah,
comes with a
that's
lot of problems.
if it's physical.
Yeah, in the
If
physical
it's
case,
phenotypic,
you're,
then we can fix
in,
you
in
out.
this thing. But then the problem comes, right, is you didn't ask that person's permission, right?
But he
You
was a
didn't get
child.
consent from them.
He was a child, and we all know that until you turn 18 or 21, there are some of the things that your parents would have to decide for you.
I mean, if you could live just fine, as is,
Why do we have to wait that long?
I
You
think
want
it's
to
because
say
the
that if you
kids-
can live that fine, we should let you get to the point that you make the decision for yourself, yes?
I mean, yeah, I think that if someone could survive just fine if it wasn't a life-threatening circumstance.
So if we give birth to you and one of your ears, it's so big that it kind of,
Well, if it's impeding my daily life, if
It's
it's
not.
impeding my ability to survive,
so it's not.
a
okay.
giant ear sounds like it might. Winter hats aren't going to work out quite right.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying that if you have something like that at birth, right, it's a birth defect.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something like really significant, and it's going to impact someone's quality of life,
But how
for
do you-
example, right, like a
How do
missing
you
limb or
even know?
something.
How do you even know that this boy? I give birth to a boy, a baby
Okay.
boy. How do you know that he's going to feel like a lady in 5 years? In 18 years, in 20 years, he's going to
You
feel.
can't, and that's why I think now the best course of action, if at all possible, is to not perform surgical interventions. If you can avoid it, I think standard practice now, at least it should be, is to, maybe wait till like kids old enough that you can ask and see what they want,
Come
right?
on.
Because it's
Come
when you think
on.
about it, right? It's recovery from surgeries like that isn't terribly difficult. In most cases, in broad generalization here.
Yeah, you broke your legs, isn't it terribly?
Yeah,
You
yeah, no.
broke some bones in your feet.
I broke my foot pretty badly. So
And you are
I've had
get-
one surgery. I have one more left. And like as someone who's had, I've had quite a number of surgeries.
And it's been like 2 months, right? 2 months or 3 months?
I broke my foot in October. Yeah,
So-
first week of October.
Yeah, November, December, January. So
Yeah,
so
we're at
probably
3 or
like
4
4
months,
months.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you are still here. Why do we have to put a child through that? Instead of getting the child, when you are
I would
young.
say that bone surgeries are very different from
Yeah,
soft tissue surgeries.
I'm just thinking.
In my case, because I've had other surgeries before, right? And they were, in my experience, and I know this isn't everyone's, incredibly easy to heal from.
Right.
I think it helped that, I generally heal pretty well, and, I got them done when I was relatively young, back on the... Let's
The
shift back real
definition.
quick, though, because I never did explain terms. That's my bad.
Okay.
We'll circle back. So as far as the LGBTQ plus acronym goes, so we'll start at the beginning, right? Lesbian, women who love women.
Okay.
Gay,
Gay.
men who are into men.
B.
Be bisexual, people are into genders that are like their own and unlike their own, so
So men who are into men and women
Yeah.
who are into women and men.
Yeah.
Okay.
and
How
then
does that work though? Isn't that confusing?
not my experience.
That is
Hear me out,
confusing.
okay?
You
If
have
you-
to be decisive. Why
would
are you
you-
being selfish? So
Nobody says that you can't like cookies and cake at the same time,
No,
right?
that's
Why
not-
would
that's
you?
not-
Why
that's
would
not
you
the
limit
same.
yourself to just one
That's
for the
not
rest
the
of your life?
same. We have two explicit sides.
I mean,
When we are tossing a coin, you can't say I like head and tail because that's two explicit sides.
I mean, I think that you can. I
How can
think
you say
that
I like head and
if you're-
tail? What
if
about the
you're-
other person?
If you're capable of being attracted to more than one gender, I mean, why limit yourself? Like if if you can be into it, well, why would you not?
I mean,
With the exception of like if it's socially dangerous for you to do so, then maybe don't. Like be safe,
yeah.
make wise decisions.
No, let's finish up. T.
All right, yes. Transgender. So the gender you were assigned at birth doesn't match your gender identity.
Mm-hmm.
So in my case, when I was born, they said, all right, it's a girl. I grow up. I realize that, female just isn't for me. I'm a man, and so there you go, transgender. The opposite side of that is cisgender. And cisgender literally just means not trans. It means that your gender assigned at birth matches your gender identity. So,
we
for
don't
example,
need a term. We don't need a term.
it's helpful.
We don't want to be.
It's helpful to be able to say to be able to specify not trans people, right? It's nice to have one word that can encompass everybody who's not trans. It's useful in discussions.
So one of the things that I have been finding difficult to understand is when you look at those alphabets, the LGBTQ, it's like a combination of your gender and sex orientation.
Yeah, so that is something that's really good to bring up. So something that I think a lot of people struggle with is, I know a lot of people struggle with the fact that gender is separate from sexual orientation, is separate from romantic orientation. So that's another layer to this. And you can have any combination of the three, right? It's just I think it's just meant to group, the reason why we use this whole acronym for everybody, it's a very useful way to group minorities, right? These are people with atypical, for lack of a better word, experiences in sexuality, romantic.
Doesn't it confuse you? So you meet me on the street. Let's just say that I have in our case as straight people, it's easy. I meet you, you're a man, I know you're a man.
Yeah.
I meet you, you're a woman, I know you're a woman. And in the natural state, we know that a man will be interested in going for a woman. And we know women are interested in going for men. Or at least typically. Yeah. So that is easy. But when you say, let's assume that there's a tag that maybe is written on your dress or on your forehead that you are LGBTQ. How do I know which one you are straight, or as you say, cis and straight?
Yeah,
how do I know that you are the LGBT assigned to you because of your sexual interest or romantic orientation or gender? How do I know?
You don't.
Isn't it confusing? It is. Just say it. It's confusing.
I'm thinking how best to phrase this. At the end of the day, I think something that's useful, right, about this whole thing, right? Like, I see you, I know that you're in the queer community somehow, but I don't know where you fit.
Queer.
We see basically not cis, not straight.
God, man.
Yeah, it's just an easy way to say everybody at once. It does have a dicey history. It's definitely been used as a slur in the past.
Okay.
Some people have chosen to reclaim it, and personally, I feel pretty comfortable saying it. I didn't really grow up in a time where that was used as a slur, not in the environments that I was in, and so. It's an easy way to use one word in my experience.
So instead of saying LGBTQ plus, you would say queer.
If it fits better in conversation, it works a little bit faster.
But does it means the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's one word that can encompass everybody. It's used as an umbrella term pretty frequently. But so I think it's important that even if you see someone walking down the street and they don't have an LGBTQ plus, pride thing on, right? They don't have a sticker or a tag or something like that. You're automatically assuming that person is straight, that person is cis, right?
Yeah.
They might not be. And they might just not be telling you that they're not, right? Like, we make assumptions about people every day, and to some degree, sometimes those assumptions are useful, and sometimes they're a hindrance, right? So I think at the end of the day, if it's just some stranger, it's just like some guy, that you're walking past. Does it really matter?
So what is a plus?
Just the other letters, so we don't have to write the rest of the letters.
So why don't we say plus then, so we don't write anything?
The LGBT is the original acronym. At least it's the oldest acronym that I've seen in use. I'm not an expert in the history.
When do you think this started? When do you think people...
Forever. The ancient Greeks were I don't want to say notoriously, but very famously, very gay, very. You see it in history all over the place. I mean, you even see it in non-human species, right?
No,
Like,
I've not seen it in any non-human
yeah,
species.
yeah. But I mean, I think that gay and trans people have been around since forever.
Mm.
You know, I think it's, and I mean, I know people sometimes make an evolutionary argument. They're like, why is this persisted in the population even if it's not useful?
Nobody. So now let's talk about practical things moving forward.
Okay, all right.
Do you think that if this is a biological issue,
Okay.
right? So if there's a correction that needs to be made at the DNA level, at the genes or chromosomal levels, whatever, do you think people should be funding research into correcting that rather than letting people grow up and be part of an LGBTQ?
I don't think so.
So if you were born with one leg, we should let you grow up and say I am disabled?
I think that's a little bit different.
It's the same thing. If it is biological, if you were born with one eye having a defect,
Yeah.
do you want people to
I think
research
they-
into fixing your eye, or you want to be called disabled when you grow up?
I think that there's a difference between something that is physically atypical that will impact your life negatively and just a different social role.
How does you having, let's even assume it's biological, right?
Okay,
In most
yeah.
cases, I think that people actually do that for attention, but let's forget about that.
I promise there's enough suffering that comes along with it
Yeah,
that
of
if you
course.
wanted attention, you'd pick something easier.
No, well, we'll get there, but I'm saying that if, and obviously, and I told you within my science community, we believe, and I think that as a biologist, you know that if you have to take testosterone,
Yeah.
hormones and,
Yeah.
and pills and all of that, injections, some people do injections.
Yeah.
If you have to do that, why don't we rather give you a pill that will correct that feeling way back at childbirth, if that can be detected?
I mean, I think
You would rather choose the suffering? Well, I mean, I don't mean it as suffering,
Yeah.
but you had to go through surgery.
yeah.
You have to go through the social trauma, and even forget about the trauma. For me, the fact that it's so difficult to clearly define what you are, I don't want
mean,
that confusion for
I think
anybody.
just because things are hard doesn't mean that they're bad.
Yeah,
you
but
know.
if there's a better way, a faster and easier way.
I mean, if I think now, at least in my experience, I think that if someone's born, right, and they're transgender, we'll take my example just for ease, right? I'm born and they realized, okay, this kid is a man.
But there's something wrong.
I think, I think that I would have rathered, right, if they had a way to just fix everything right then, do all the transitioning as a baby. I don't think I would have wanted that, I think I would have been, and this is just completely personal opinion, right, I think I would have liked if they waited until I was old enough to make my own decisions.
Yeah, that's
right, because there are definitely hardships that come with that. There are definitely
no.
benefits
But if
to
they fix
transitioning
you,
earlier.
if
They're
they
also,
fix you up, you wouldn't know.
see, that's the bit I don't like, right? They're taking your autonomy away from
What
you.
is
Your ability to make those choices about yourself, like your consent about what happens to your body.
So, I mean, sometimes I guess for me, what I think about is that sometimes people want to make, and especially people within these minority groups, they want to
Yeah.
make arguments that favor them. So, if you are born at, if you are young, right, and you
Yeah.
get a cut,
Okay.
you are not medically, you cannot make the decision for yourself, right? In
Well,
our
in
current
that case,
society.
I think it's pretty clear cut. That's something that happens to everybody.
So you would say your parents should wait till you grow up until you can make
No,
your own decisions.
No, clearly not. I think at least in my particular case, you know, if there was a way to handle all of the transitioning when I was a small child, I don't think I would have liked that.
Why not?
I think that me making decisions about it was something that was really important for me. You know, it was my body.
And this is
I got
why
to make it what
this
I
is
wanted.
why I think that people do this, particularly for just attention.
See, I don't think.
So
I mean,
so
as someone who's been through it,
but I just gave you an easy way out. I just gave you an easy way out, and you are rejecting that. You want to still be in a situation where your mom doesn't like it, but you want to do it. So it's my choice. It's me.
See,
Don't you think that's
I
a little
think
bit
something that's also
selfish?
important to note is that not every parent is a great parent, right?
Yeah.
Not every parent is going to make the right decisions for their kid.
It doesn't matter. He's your parent, and sometimes
I think it does matter.
normally, what you think as not a good decision is because you want something else.
I mean, in regards to what my body physically looks like, you know, and how I live my life, I
That's
think
what
that my
you
decision
want.
is what matters the
That's
most. In
what.
that
So
case.
so you think that yours is the right decision? Is that not it?
I mean, if it's my body and I'm the one living this life, yeah, I think mine is the most important.
So before you become the one who makes the decision for yourself, and sometimes let's not forget that before then your parents are going to fend for you, right? They're going to
Some parents would, yeah.
Look, if you don't have anybody to care for you, you die. That's
Yeah.
not. That's not. Let's just not have that discussion. Let's assume
Alright.
that because the number of people who don't get families to take care of them it's not. Well, if you compare the population in the world, it's not the majority. It's way on the minority side, right? And in the world, we always know that majority always. There's no system that is perfect.
Yeah, that's fair.
So let's drop that side.
All right.
So your family fed for you. And the fact that you are able to grow up to the point where you can think means that they made the right choices for you. Don't you agree?
Some of them, yeah.
Some of them. Right. Why don't you tell us about how has it been for you so far? Since you transitioned, right?
Yeah.
Societal reception, your sexual life. How has it been? How has it been?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely been a drastic improvement for me, right? If you're living life in a body that you're not happy with, that causes you anguish every day, it's pretty hard to live a happy and healthy life, right? This is pretty miserable.
What was the size of your boobs? How was it?
We're not answering that one.
Can you I just want
That's
you
a no-go.
Just show me, maybe like this,
No.
or like that.
No.
We want to see.
Nope, nobody's got to see that. I spent a lot of money to not have to worry about that.
Yeah, tell me about. Before we finish the second question,
Yeah.
I want to tell. I mean, I know, and this is because we are office mates and lab mates, and I mean, if people who are listening, if you want to know more about Vincent, you can always follow him on Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll share the Instagram handle later.
Yeah, we could throw that in the chat.
But we know that you've done the top surgery. How much did that cost you?
I think the average in the U.S. is
How much
like
did
out
that
of
cost
pocket.
you?
So I paid out of pocket.
Okay.
So I think the average
Yeah, your
in the
mom
US
is not going to pay for that.
Well, insurance also wouldn't.
Yeah.
That's
out of the system.
It drastically improved my quality of life.
Okay.
And so I feel like it's something that's pretty
worth
reasonable.
it?
That
Okay.
100% was definitely worth every penny I paid.
But how much did you pay?
Average is about 8,000 to 10,000, and mine was like in that range somewhere. It was
$10,000.
Yeah, it was not easy.
10K
Consider also you have to take. I had to take about a month off work because I worked in food service, and I wasn't allowed to lift things or move around much, and I was exhausted.
And you still take your testosterone, right?
Yeah, you can still take that.
How much is that?
I think average out of pocket is And it depends on what method you go with, right? You can do injections, and those are about $50 a month. You can do testosterone gels, and those are $300 to $500 a month, I think, out of pocket. Yeah, I'll pay myself $250 to just do the injections myself. That's fine with me. Mad
So you do
respect.
injections?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Every
not
month.
every week.
Where do you get them?
Just any fatty tissue. So there's been a history behind that one. So it used to be you could, doctors would prescribe testosterone, and they would say you had to use intramuscular injections. So that's a needle that's inch or longer,
Yeah.
and you have to go into the muscle. People usually inject into the thighs, but studies came out later stating that you don't actually have to hit the muscle. That's you can just get into the fat, and that's fine. So
Shit.
now you can use just little baby needles, they're tiny, it ain't even a big deal. So that bit's really nice. So you can do subcutaneous injections.
Okay.
But something that's interesting is the drugs were approved under the intramuscular use. So on the boxes that you get your testosterone in, they say intramuscular use only. Your doctor
Knows
oftentimes
that.
will
Yeah.
prescribe it as subcutaneous
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah. I mean, because a long needle is painful.
Yeah, oh god, it's no. I've accidentally hit muscle.
Why do you want to go through that
The effects are worth it.
every week?
Yeah. Every week. Think about diabetics, right? They have to inject themselves multiple times a
I like
day.
our PI in our lab so much because they use sound when. Yeah, so every week.
Yeah. It's not too bad, honestly. If you hit the right spot, you don't even feel it.
Okay.
Sometimes you do. Sometimes you screw up, but that's not too bad.
No, but if, assuming that they get a different part, so they do it through your parts, right?
I mean, wherever you can find some fat. I mean, I do self-injections, so the stomach or the leg are
Okay.
usually good spots.
So if you find a different spot every week,
Yeah.
you have
it's not
needle
bad.
holes all over your body.
It heals pretty well. Think about every vaccine you've ever gotten.
Yeah, that's
You ever find a
like
needle hole?
if I get
Okay.
if I get the flu vaccine or
Mhm.
COVID-19 vaccine, that's one or twice for my entire life. You get it every week. It's not comparable.
You just move around. Eventually, something that if you
Why do you want
inject
to
in the
put your
same
body
spot,
through that? You think that we know for a fact?
yeah,
Well, do you think that your parents will let you go through that needle pain every week?
like menstrual periods.
No, every week that
What?
needle
Hold on.
pain.
Oh, the needle pain. I thought you said period. I was supposed to say,
No.
hold on, what? I mean, yeah, that's not.
Do
it's not
you
too
think your
bad.
parents will let you
Oh, my parents would let me.
go through that needle pain every week if there's another way?
I mean, there are other ways,
Don't-
right? There's
don't-
the
don't
gel.
Don't get me wrong. The gel is
I mean,
350
if
or
it's- yeah,
250
yeah,
bucks
it's
more. Nobody's
ridiculous.
getting that.
There are people who do. And
Of course
sometimes
they are rich.
insurance will cover it sometimes. In
But-
my
but
case,
do
my
you
insurance
think,
won't.
Do you think that your mom, looking at his baby girl, what was your name before?
I don't give that out.
God, man.
People can't call you the wrong name if they don't know the wrong name. Alright? Don't learn these
I'm going to
things.
call you Decentia. So,
I mean, I think that I think something that my parents always told me growing up is all they cared about. They didn't care about the gender of their baby. All they cared about was that I was healthy when I was born.
Yeah.
You know, that I was healthy and I was happy.
yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so I think
You are the one adding the happy part.
well, that's so something.
Because I don't think that my mom, my dad, or any parent I know will let their child go through needle pains every week.
I mean, it's
Dude, you are
pain's not
22,
all that
right?
bad. Yeah, 22.
If you are going to live for let's even say
So it'll be a lot. Yeah,
that's going to be like if
I've
you
done the math.
God, why do you want to put yourself through that?
Because the effects are psychologically beneficial for me, right?
Mhm.
I'm significantly happier
Mhm.
with the body the way it is now. I
Mhm.
like the way it makes me feel. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think the benefits far outweigh a tiny bit of pain once a
Yeah.
week.
Okay.
It's really not all that bad.
Dude, I mean, I still cannot imagine. So, do you plan on getting Down surgery?
I mean, that's something. I mean,
Do you plan on doing it? I think that we know that trans people keep the down part because maybe
I think
the future
I think
will
quite a few
reverse.
people do. I think not usually because of worries like that. I think a lot of it
I
is.
know people.
I think a lot of it is expense.
Okay, that's one.
Because the expense
Yeah,
is
yeah,
insane,
yeah,
right? I
yeah.
mentioned $10,000 for
Yeah,
top
yeah.
surgery. That is nothing
Yeah,
compared to
to
the
the
cost
whole
of bottom
surgery.
surgery.
Yeah. Bottom.
You're-
That's that what said bottom surgery.
yeah,
Oh,
bottom
that
surgery
was
is
it,
usually
okay.
what it's called. Yeah, the cost can be insane,
So
and
so
sometimes
which of the
insurance won't
reasons-
touch it.
Which of the reasons is stopping you?
I mean, I
You want
I
to
think that's a
reverse.
pretty personal question.
You
I'm not
want
sure
to
I'm comfortable-
reverse.
No,
You want to
that's
reverse. You
definitely
want
not
to
gonna-
reverse.
No,
So you want to have a baby.
no, absolutely not.
You don't want to have kids,
No, God no.
bro.
You
Why
have
would
to-
you want to have kids?
I don't need that kind of responsibility. I don't even have a cat.
You are selfish.
I think that this is my life,
Mhm.
and that I get to choose what I do with it, and I don't
So-
want the responsibility
Of
of
having a kid.
a child, right? A living, conscious being that I am solely responsible for. Not just its physical care, but its psychological
And
development,
financial,
right?
yeah.
That and also financial, right? There's so much that goes into having and raising a kid, right?
But-
There's
but-
just so much, and I don't
Then
feel
the world
that I
will go
would
in.
do.
The world will start going.
We don't have
in the reverse.
we don't have an underpopulation problem.
We do.
We do not.
Population
There's
growth is retarded. It's
we have so
retarded.
many people.
No,
We're
no,
at
we
what,
don't
like
have.
9 billion now?
Yeah, probably.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure we're at
almost,
9 billion
almost.
at this
but,
point.
But population growth is retarded, especially in the US. It's
We
retarded.
have so many people.
It's not. We don't have abundance. There's no limit on that. Nobody's stopping us from having more.
I mean, resources will eventually become scarce. I would like to think that technology
Who save
will
us?
progress to handle it.
Science. Who save
I would
us?
like to think. But
Why?
at the
Why
same
are you
time, that's a
limiting
risk.
the world of having? Why are you limiting your child? And right now you don't have balls. I would have said, why are you limiting your child in your balls? But why are you limiting your child in your eggs to come to the world and experience this beauty? Why?
I mean, I don't know. I have some feelings. about it. I don't feel that I would make a great parent.
Okay.
I just don't think that I
Do
would.
you think your parents, the experience with your parents?
Though it might have a factor in that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I just don't think that I would be a good parent. Like that's just not a role that I want to fulfill.
Mhm.
That's a lot of obligation for something that I don't even want in the first place.
Mhm.
Yeah,
of course.
Like if I don't even want to have a kid, to
Yeah.
have a kid would be cruel.
Yeah.
Because kids can pick up on that if their parents don't want them.
Yeah.
Like they know,
Mhm.
and I just don't have an interest in it. So
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken for almost an hour. Normally, I like us to finish around an hour and a half. So let's
All right.
dive into
new topic. All
yeah,
right.
yeah. Let's dive into what is the difficulty in being where you are.
I think
And when I ask that question, I'm talking about you being trans, and also let's define. So, what is your sexual orientation now? Because I know you are trans. That's one feature. But sexual orientation before the trans, you were hetero.
yeah.
After the trans, what are you? Because you still go for the same men.
Yeah, I think they would probably be considered homoflexible, for lack of a better word. I know, I'm throwing out complicated stuff. Okay, all right. So
you add
I
H
am-
to the,
I am like-
to the alphabet.
I'm like 95% attracted to men,
Okay.
and like 5% attracted
Just
to
three
women,
men,
right?
okay.
I'm very, very, very picky when it comes to women.
Mhm.
When it comes to men, I'm a lot less picky.
Okay.
Then I'm definitely more readily attracted to men than I am women.
Okay.
So
Yeah, but so what? So the question is, what has been the difficulty in being where you are?
I mean, definitely, coming from a small, very conservative town, I think, like, social acceptance, particularly from family, has been the biggest struggle. I think
Do you have siblings?
I have one sibling. Yeah.
And
I've
one
got
other.
a younger sister.
A younger sister.
Yeah.
So you told your younger sister that you want to turn into a man.
Yeah. She was
You wanted-
very understanding. She
No,
was,
you wanted
she
to
was
become a boy so you whip his hat,
No,
whip her ass.
no.
Or you stand up for your baby, your baby
No.
sister when the boys start to rush on him.
Oh man, no. She took it very well. She was absolutely wonderful about it. And I think at a certain point, right? You know, like you try to be understanding. You try to explain and help other people come to terms with it. And some people just can't. You know, some people, for whatever reasons, be it religion, politics, personal issues, right? Some people will just never be okay.
Yeah, I mean in Ghana it's not, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Especially in my family, you can't do that shit.
Yeah, and that's something that like was definitely not easy for me to come to terms with. Right, was having to make peace with this person will never accept it. You know, no matter what I do, there's nothing that I can do to change their mind. There's nothing they can do to change my mind. So, you know, we just have to drop it, and that be that.
Yeah.
And that was definitely like a hard thing to come to terms with. I think now things are a lot easier now, right? The first couple of years were definitely pretty rough, but I mean now things are pretty well toned down. I pass really well. I walk by someone on the street, no one takes a second look. You know, it's really convenient. And so, I mean...
And do you think they recognize you?
The people I used to know would recognize me?
Yeah.
I don't know, I've never asked somebody. I never asked somebody that I hadn't
Hey, you
already.
know who I am? I was the little girl that you were playing with 5 years ago.
Oh, man. I mean, earlier on in my transition, people did recognize me, but, I mean,
Do you
at this
think
point...
you look the same?
I think I look a little different.
Look
Not
with
by
a
much.
Beard.
Yeah, the beard helps a lot.
you like having beard, right?
I do.
I
do.
really
It's
see
very nice.
most of the time. Yeah, I really see you being so interested in having a beard.
It was definitely something that I was so incredibly excited about, right? Because like that's like the manliest thing, you know, like having a beard, like that's.
And yeah, I am shaving
You
mine
shave
off.
yours here, not representing.
Now you are more of a man than I am.
I mean,
Yeah, but so what are your choices?
yeah.
What are your preferences when it comes to dating a man? What
Dating
would
a man?
Yeah, what would you look for in a man?
I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not super sure. I'm the kind of person, I don't have a type. I know it when I see it, you know, but it can vary very widely from person to person.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest. Since starting grad school, my interest in dating has waned. I'm so busy with everything. I don't have the time to go looking at
Yeah,
men.
I mean, yeah.
You know. Yeah. So I mean.
Yeah, but still, you gotta.
At current, my first love is the confocal.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
So much work to do in our love, but you still have to. You're still gonna be with someone anyway, so.
It's possible.
I just want to know. You want someone who has a beard? You want someone who's a little bit feminine?
I'll be honest. I care a heck of a lot more about the personality than the looks.
No,
right?
but
Like
you-
I'm very like. I could like a feminine dude. I could like a super masculine dude. You know, that's not. Of all the things that are important in a partner, I think that physical looks or like type, that's pretty low on the rankings, right? I think personality compatibility is the most important thing, right? And like, do we have the same values? Do we care about the same things? Do our life goals line up, right? You know, like if I want to move to Canada and he wants to go to Texas, we're gonna have some problems. That's just not gonna work.
Yeah. Do you think your interest changed as you transed?
I don't think so.
So you still
I
felt
don't
the
think
same?
it did. I mean, I dated a pretty wide variety of dudes beforehand and after, you know. I don't think it changed all too much.
Yeah, but I mean, this is for me. Like I said, for me, when I thought people would trans when they are interested in people of the same sex. Right?
Yeah.
So a man, and in Ghana, actually, that's what you see. And it's not in Ghana. Is that not what you see? You see a man acting way more feminine when they are gay.
Sometimes. Some people, yeah.
I like it.
There is some very masculine gay men.
Yeah, of course.
Very masculine.
But the more, so most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about these things, I want us to use the general, because
Yeah.
that's how the world works, right? Majority
Okay.
always carries the day, so we use the majority as the examples.
All right.
And you see, and that's where the term tomboy came, right?
Yeah, masculine women, yeah.
Do you understand? Because those masculine women want to go in for women as well.
Sometimes, yeah. There are a lot of tomboys that are also straight, but yeah.
Oh God.
Lesbians also definitely exist. They're pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it definitely happens. I think a good example, though, is that there's definitely a cut and clear difference, right, between a tomboy and a trans man,
Mhm,
right?
of course.
Because, like, a tomboy probably doesn't want to have a beard.
Yeah,
9 times out of
And they
10,
keep
it
their
probably
boobs.
did, yeah.
Mhm.
So, I mean, yeah, that's something that I thought was, like, really refreshing when I first started exploring the
So
queer
you were
community
a
is
tomboy a little bit.
probably a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think you had masculine? Do you think you had masculinity in you before you trans?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk, yo, what's up, dude?
Oh, I wasn't slick or anything like that, but yeah, no, I mean, like,
What were some of the things you used to do?
I was raised on a farm, you know, like, my family had an elk farm, you know, so grew up helping out on the farm, hunting, fishing, you know, hiking, that sort of thing. Like, I don't know, like, stereotypical masculine activities. Of course, anyone could do them, but, I mean, I think I had a, you know, physical labor was pretty typical.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there were some, like, standard masculine traits that I definitely had.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm still reading some of the questions. She said, note that Vincent has undergone some surgeries. How does it impact him psychologically? Does he feel more authentic? Is he less anxious about who he is?
Oh, that's a really good question. Yeah, so that's something that, like, especially when I was starting transitioning, right? Because I didn't really have family support, and it was very much, like, on my own. And if anything, people were very against it, right? So there's always this fear that, like, what if I'm wrong?
Yeah.
You know, like, what if this isn't me?
Okay.
You know, and so I started small. I started with taking testosterone and seeing how I liked those effects. I really liked it a lot. You know, at
I
first,
can't imagine.
it's wonderful, and yeah. So I mean, like, there were definitely some doubts beforehand, as there is before any major decision.
course.
You know, like, I don't know about you, but before I moved here, I was definitely a little nervous. I was like, what if this is a terrible decision? Like, what if grad school is the worst idea in the world? Very happy with my decision now, but there was definitely some uncertainty. That's I think, like, a very natural thing to happen. But yeah, no, I mean, I woke up after top surgery and I was so relieved. You know, I mean, and
Yeah, because that takes away the direct get to know.
Yeah.
Right? Because look, if not for that post you made on Instagram about
You would
toxic,
never know.
I would never. I would probably never assume.
Yeah, no, and that's something.
Isn't that dangerous?
Not really. No.
You
I
are
mean,
part,
it's.
you are part of a significant community. I don't know. I don't get to know. I'm black. You can see it on my face when you see me that I'm black. I'm black, guys. You can see I am black. But I don't know that you are trans.
Yeah,
Isn't
I
that
mean,
dangerous?
so I thought you were asking if surgery was dangerous, and
No.
in most cases, no. It's a pretty well fleshed out surgery at this point, and it's generally got low
Yeah,
risk.
of course,
Being trans, though, yeah, in the wrong place at the wrong time, it can definitely be dangerous. So it's something that I'm incredibly grateful for is that I pass pretty well as a man. I walk by somebody on the street, they don't take a second look.
Yeah.
It wasn't always like that. There's a period of time that I went through, and I think a lot of people go through, where I looked kind of in between, you know, where I looked very androgynous. It wasn't super clear what gender I was. And that time especially is dicey. You know, I lived in a very rural place, very conservative, and you think even as simple as I worked in retail. I needed to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Which one do I go into? Which one am I less likely to get beat up in? You know, it never happened, but it was a very real concern.
That
These
was
things
really-
happen all the time.
It's my next question because that's really Which one do you go to now?
I go to the men's. If I went in the women's bathroom, I get some looks. It would not. Yeah, people would have some questions.
Then you cannot. You cannot use the P tab on a wall, right? You have to go to a complete WC set, right?
I mean, they make tools for that.
Yeah. Okay. That's
They're
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
they make
Yeah,
tools for
yeah,
that.
yeah, that's true. That's true. I think I've seen one before. I I entered, and he was, finishing up to take that, and like I said, why do you want to go through that? Now
It's
you
more
carry that
convenient
with
at
you?
times for some people. I don't know. It's
Yeah,
a personal choice. You
opened
find
the
what
washroom,
works.
I entered, and he was getting that out because he wants to wash it, put it back in the bag.
That's fair. That's probably best to wash that. Yeah.
God, man. I was confused. I was
You
like,
know?
yo, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a bathroom. Do your shit and get out.
Yeah.
Like I don't think anybody's. I think
Really
your average
looking out for-
person. Yeah, your average person isn't even worried about it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, at the end of the day, I think people should use whatever bathroom they really want to.
No, I don't agree to that. I don't want a woman looking at my when I.
Okay, if they're looking, that's a separate issue.
Yeah, but if
People
they
are
are
looking, that's a problem.
if there are P tabs,
Mhm.
5 of them lying on the wall, we are all peeing in the same, right?
Yeah.
You turn your eye and
If someone's looking, then call them out for it. I promise they'll feel probably pretty awkward. Yeah, I think that's a little bit of a separate issue. Yeah, I don't think you run into that issue often. I don't think that's.
No. I mean, now here, especially in WSU, they have divisions
Yes,
for all the tabs,
yes.
so you cannot see.
The
anything.
bathroom facilities are
Yeah.
well laid out.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I mean, to me, it's been a great discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've loved it so far. I think we can talk about so many different stuff.
There's so many things. Yeah.
I would look at some of the questions. Let's see. I think Danielle was asking about cis. We've already answered
Oh,
that.
yep.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, somebody's asking about, so if you decide to marry,
Yeah.
are you going to sign as a woman or sign as a man?
I'll be honest. I don't know much about marriage,
Do
and
you
so
plan- do you
I don't know
plan
if
getting married?
I don't know if your gender factors into the signing bit.
I think so.
I mean, gay marriage is legal here, so you could.
Yeah.
Anybody
think-
could just
yeah.
sign. And I mean, legally speaking, my sex is male.
Okay, so
I
you
filed
sign
my
as a
paper-
gay.
Yeah,
gay.
as a man, yeah. I filed all the paperwork for that.
But when I asked you what your sexual orientation was, you said you said we're homosexually what?
Homo flexible.
Homo
technically.
flexible. How do you sign as homo flexible?
So I think I wouldn't even sign that bit. I think the only thing that they factor in, if they factor anything in, I don't know.
Yeah.
Never been married.
Yeah, I think they call that something. Is
Yeah,
it?
I think they just, have two people sign, and if they care about anything, they'd be like, oh, yes, this is a man and this is a man. And I think that's just how it ends. I don't know, I've never seen a marriage certificate. I've never gotten that far.
So if you get divorced, who is keeping the house?
I don't know. That's an issue for future me in that particular instance.
No, so you get married to a cis man, right? No, it can't be a cis man, right?
It could be, yeah.
It could be.
Cis just means not trans.
Okay. So you get married to him. He signed as a man. I don't know. You can't.
I'd
sign
also
as
sign
a
as a
woman.
man. Yeah, I'd also sign as a man. That'd be fine. Yeah, that's legally speaking, my sex is male. I have all the paperwork for that.
Oh God. So when you get divorced, who is keeping the house?
Depends how nice the house is.
This is great. I mean, this is funny. Anyways, let's look at the questions.
All right, what you got?
So Danielle again is asking, how do we avoid making assumptions? What suggestions do you have for people? I guess she asked the question when we were talking about when I meet you.
Yeah. I think.
By the way, do you believe in the rainbow colors associated with LGBT?
The what? The rainbow colors? Oh, I don't know what we mean agree with. I don't know why. Do people disagree with that
Rainbow
for
colors
reasons?
was there. Rainbow has always been there.
Well, yeah. Red, white, and blue existed before America, too. You know?
Yeah. So we should say rainbow
I don't.
is for LGBT?
I mean, it's a symbol that's used by the queer community. It doesn't mean that no one else can use it.
So
Other people can totally use it
So when I
for
have
other
a
things.
rainbow, when I have a rainbow on my shirt,
Well, people might assume some things.
is that right?
But, like, is that. I mean, if that's an issue, I mean.
Is that right?
I
Do
mean,
you think?
you're right. We
So
should
we are talking
avoid
about-
assumptions when possible.
Mhm.
You know, but I mean, it doesn't necessarily. I mean, just because you're wearing rainbow colors doesn't mean that you're gay.
So yeah, I guess that's the question. Is it right for people to assume that I am gay because I have rainbow colors on my shirt? Because that's what's going to happen from now on, isn't it?
I mean, probably, yeah. If people see you wearing a significant amount of rainbows, they'll probably assume you're LGBTQ plus of some sort.
Why
I mean, I think
taking
ideally.
the beauty of rainbow away?
I mean, I think it's just a well-established symbol.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not super well versed on the history of it. I know there's different versions of the flag. I know the progress flag, I think, is what it's called now.
People even believe that heaven is gay because of the rainbows that come in the skies.
I've not heard of that one. You know, I think that I don't think that any one person should own a color combination. You know, like I don't.
No,
I
but
don't
if
think
the
that,
color is combined in a certain way, you see,
I mean,
when you ask about red, blue, and white,
yeah,
if I put a straight red line, a straight white, and a straight blue, that's not for America. Everybody knows that's not for America.
yeah,
But if I put it on the side and put white stars on the top left corner, then that's the American flag.
yeah. I mean, at this point, I'm not aware of any other community that was using a rainbow flag for certain purposes.
rainbows.
I'd always seen a rainbow in like the arch formation.
Yeah.
I'd seen that before many a time.
Yeah, that's the natural. It's a natural phenomenon.
Yeah.
That happens.
I've never seen someone use the rainbow striped
And we
flag.
call it rainbow because normally, well, in the tropics, it comes together with rain
Yeah,
normally,
same here. Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'm not super well versed on the history of the flag.
I don't want. Why do we have to call it? So right now, it's like rainbow. It's associated with LGBTQ, and nobody could have done that. You can't say that. I don't know what example to use. You can say sky is for a certain group, right?
Well, I mean, I think we're getting off onto strange philosophical tangent that I'm not prepared for.
Yeah, I'm just thinking because now we associate rainbow to LGBT, but rainbow was there before.
I mean, yeah.
Why
So
do we
were a
have
lot
to-
of things we use as symbols. You know, there's
Do you-
Republicans are symbolized by an elephant.
Yeah,
You know, like
but it doesn't
did
come.
they take the elephant from somebody? I don't.
No, you can't
think so.
put
They
you
just
can't
use
put
it
the
as a sign.
elephant alone. It comes with other things.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
positioned
if
in a certain way.
someone stylized it differently, they could totally make
Do you
that
think
rainbow
do
stand
you
for
think
something
do you
else.
think that should be done for LGBT?
If someone wants to make
I mean,
a
you
different
as
rainbow
scientists,
flag and use it,
you can develop that and publish it, can't you?
I mean, you could, yeah. But
You,
it's just like
I'm not talking
oh
about
me.
you.
Oh heck. I mean, like if someone else wants to make another rainbow flag, that looks a little bit different and make it symbolize something else, they
Yeah.
could totally do that.
Do
There's
it.
nothing stopping.
Do you want to do it?
Do I want to? I don't have anything. I don't have anything I need to symbolize. So no, probably
No, you are
not.
part of the LGBTQ.
Oh heck, no! There's plenty of other people making flags. they don't need any help on that front. There's so many flags.
You don't want to help?
No. Someone who's better at art can do that.
Oh yeah, your drawings are terrible.
Yeah, but I can't. My art skills are abominable. Yeah, I'll let somebody else handle that bit. On the topic of the question, though, we'll circle back real quick about the making assumptions. I mean, like, it's definitely a hard habit to get yourself out of, right? And I still make assumptions every day, right? We all do.
You don't know if I'm gay or not.
Yeah, you can't stop it completely, right? And so, I mean, something that's helpful is, I mean, if you just check in with yourself every now and again, you know, and just sit there, think about somebody you saw on the street, think about somebody you met recently. What assumptions are you making about them, right? Like, what conclusions have you drawn based off of the things that you saw and the things that you heard and the things that you felt when you were talking with them? I think just like a periodic check-in is sometimes a really good way to sort of dismantle a lot of those assumptions that you make just by default.
All right. I think that it's somebody is asking two questions.
Okay.
First is, do you still experience your menstruation?
For most people, taking testosterone will stop that after somewhere between 2 to 6 months.
Do you still? The question is you.
Me personally, no, I don't have. I don't have these issues.
You don't experience that again?
No.
Is it, so it's because you've already started taking the testosterone?
Yeah. I've been taking testosterone for quite a while now, like 3 years.
Yeah. The second question Amidu is asking that is there any circumstance that you missed yourself, your past self?
Oh.
Like one time.
Oh, that's a really good one. Is there anything I missed about before? The simplicity.
Yeah.
Life is a lot easier
when you're
being cis.
Female.
Yeah, life is so much easier when you don't have to worry about, you know, what bathroom am I going to use at work? You know, am I welcome at the family gathering this year?
Yeah.
You know, when dating.
Yeah.
You know, like when you tell somebody about that, you know, like is it safe to tell them?
Yeah. I think that's really, really different. Sometimes I'm being honest here. Sometimes I really think about you, and I get worried, scared. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah, no, there's definitely some scary stuff.
Because I mean,
that's even just you brought up that like I broke my foot not too long ago. I needed to have surgery. The nearest surgeon was in Idaho. Idaho is not known for having
receptive.
Yeah, Idaho's not exactly known for being particularly liberal.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely like a point of concern, right? It's like I got referred to this doctor. And I'm like, is he going to be okay with treating me? Is this going to be a problem? You know, like, do I need to be worried? Thankfully, he's a wonderful doctor.
Okay.
Love him. He's great. Always answers all my questions. He's fantastic.
Good. Good for you. Then.
But, like, it's definitely always a concern. Even just on the topic of doctors again, a lot of doctors don't know how to treat trans patients.
Yeah, because that's not part of the medical.
Yeah, because it's usually kind of a specialty circumstance in ways, and so it's always a little bit nerve-wracking when your doctor's like, "Hey, is this normal?" And I'm sitting here not a doctor.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, this is what I pay you for.
You are the one who's supposed to tell me.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, what do I think? When I was taking my medical course, there was nothing like that.
Yeah. So that's something, especially when you look at like older doctors. Yeah, like life is far more complicated now, and so the simplicity was really nice.
Yeah.
But at the end
for
of the day,
me also, apart from me worrying about you, when it comes to the sexual life, especially when is it right for you to tell the person?
Yeah,
and,
so that's.
And do you think the person is even going to be okay after you tell them?
Yeah, so
Have
that's.
you gotten people walk? Not necessarily like they are sitting in the walk off, but decide not to move forward after you tell them.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, that's like I
it
really
definitely
care about
happens,
you.
and that's something that on the one hand, I totally understand people not wanting to come out. I totally understand that. But personally, just for the safety aspect, I personally always tell people before meeting if I have romantic interest, right? If it's just a friend, they don't gotta know.
Yeah.
But if it's like this might become something further, this might be something relevant later on down the road, I always make sure to tell people beforehand, just in case, because if they're gonna be a problem, I'd rather just never meet them. You know,
I mean, also,
and that's something I'm super conscious about. Is like I don't let people know where I live. I always meet up at like a third location. I always drive myself. I always make sure that a friend knows where I am. Like there's definitely like I build in a lot of safety, just in case because things don't usually go wrong, but if
sometimes,
they do, it can be pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, and I'm telling you, these are like my honest reservations because sometimes I'm worried. After I got to know, I am always like thinking out loud, especially when you tell me that, and sometimes we have our guys, sometimes we have our own discussions about who we saw on what's,
Yeah.
But I get really worried because I don't want anybody to offend you. And also,
At this point, I'm not really worried about being offended.
Okay.
Like, on the one hand, it does suck. Some people are just garbage. But, I mean, at the end of the day, right, like...
Have I offended you before? I mean, before I got to know...
No, I don't really think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is sort of thing, right, where, like, especially if you're trans, like, there's so much hate out there that if you let it get to you, man, you're gonna be miserable.
Yeah,
like,
so
it sucks, don't be wrong, it really does. But at a certain point, man, you just gotta let it go, realize that what people say means more about them than it does about you, and just let it go.
And then also, I'm still really worried about you having to take a needle every week.
It's really not bad.
It's not
They're
nice
tiny.
anyways.
Have you seen my face? Needles aren't a problem.
Do you pierce on it? Oh,
No, I didn't pierce them myself. But yeah, needles aren't an issue. I used to be scared of needles. I fixed that problem. It's
but
really
you have
not
to
that
take
bad.
it
It's
every
like
week.
it's like a 25 gauge needle.
You still have to
It's
take it
so
every
tiny.
week, bro. Every week. If I tell you that I have to take a needle pierce every week, think about that. It's like every week for the rest of my life.
There are plenty of people, diabetics have to take insulin all the time, multiple times a day.
Yeah, that's true.
It's subcutaneous injection as well, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
And their stuff is way more expensive than anything that I take. So, like, there are plenty of people
Do you think
who
you
live
can
just fine with way worse.
afford it?
Do I think what?
Afford it every week till you die.
Do you think I can?
You can?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you ever want to get married?
I don't think so. I think personally, I think it goes back to my, there's a lot of obligations that come with marriage,
I think that the only thing that is really scary is people going to decide to marry in that situation. It's either you get a bottom surgery you call it. It's either you get a bottom surgery or you reverse.
I mean, you could also just exist the way you are.
And not marry.
And also marry. Some people are okay with that.
Yeah?
Yeah, lots of people are okay with that. It's ideally you find someone, and between you and that person,
you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Do you think
you find something that works.
Do you think it's going to be a man or a woman?
If I were ever to get married, I don't think I'll get married. I think I can fix that problem right there. I might end up with a long-term relationship someday. Okay. But I don't think, man.
So a long-term relationship.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be a man or a woman?
Probably a man, just because I'm attracted to more men than women. So odds, we're looking at statistics.
And during sexual...
Oh, my goodness. You don't need to know about that. You don't need to know about that part.
Oh, God. Yeah, I guess that's between you and I.
Yep.
It's gonna be funny. Well, I mean, I think that's the reason why it's important to let the person know way before they get to meet you, because then they get to know how
I
things are
mean,
gonna happen.
some people choose to wait till date 2 or 3 just
Yeah,
to
of
feel it
course.
out, and there are benefits to that as well, right?
Mm.
If someone's like a terrible person, right,
Yeah.
and they're gonna out you to everybody that you know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So sometimes it's a little bit easier to get a gauge, meet them once or twice,
See
and
where
then
they
yeah,
lie.
see if they seem like they're cool about it, and then tell them, or choose not to tell them and just don't keep dating them, you know.
Yeah.
So there are pros and cons to either one. You know, you can
Yeah.
either go on some dates and then disclose or not, or you can disclose beforehand and then either see them or not. You know, so there's there's no one right way.
It's so funny though. But which one do you think you enjoyed the most, before or now? If you get a man, back then when you were a female, obviously the person is gonna come from in front, right?
Oh my goodness.
Not
You don't need to know
from
about the details of that one. No, but I will say,
one do you
dating
enjoy
now
more?
is far more pleasant than it was beforehand.
Okay.
Because I'm comfortable with myself.
Yeah, I think
Right,
I think
that
that's one thing I
definitely
like
helps.
about you actually, because you depict it. It's not, you show that you enjoy where you are. You show it. You show it. Look at how you
100%.
address that. Look at how you don't put any more feminine stuff on you, and it's kind of like really. I think that's really, and that's why I wouldn't have known if not for
Yep.
your post on
Yep.
Instagram and you.
I mean, you know, some people transition and then still like to, you know, be the tomboy or whatever. You know, some people still like to play around with genitals. Some
yeah.
like, hell yeah, do what makes you happy.
keep your lipstick on.
Yeah, I mean, you could totally do that if you wanted to. It's personally for me. I don't know. I'm very happy with.
I
where
think
I'm at.
you were envious of men when you were a woman.
When I was a kid, oh yeah, 100%. All right, I saw my cousins running around. You know, like we'd all. I swear, we wrestled. It's a miracle nobody got hurt worse than they did. We play football in the yard.
Yeah.
You know, help take care of all the farm animals and all of that. And that was like something that really stuck with me, as I was like, damn, like I really wish I could be one of them.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And then I grew up and I did get to be one of them, and it's really nice. I'm real happy.
Yeah, I like that. I like
Hell
that.
yeah.
I like that, and I like dream chasers. I like
Oh,
people
yeah.
who go for what they want. And it's always beautiful.
You know, 100%. That's something like, you know, like I remember growing up and being so unhappy, and that was something that was wonderful, right? Like, and it takes some time, you know, like it took a couple years to get to a point where I'm kind of happy now. But man, like living now, it's something special. All right, you know, like I think about what life was like beforehand. I'm like, my God, how did I even deal with that? And here I am now.
Yeah.
And I'm just living out all of my childhood dreams. And it's just amazing, and I love it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll be signing out. Yeah, in a moment, guys. If there are any more questions. If there are any more questions, guys, you can drop them in the chat and we will respond to that. If not, Vincent will just have you give us a sign out message, whatever you want to tell people that are listening or watching us.
Yeah,
Did you send the link to your sister? She should be watching you.
I was about to say, I think I sent it out on Instagram, so she's got that.
Okay.
I think I'm not 100% sure what sort of a take-home message to throw out here. I wasn't prepared for this part. But, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, meet new people, learn new things, you know. I think it's really easy to get preconceived notions based off of what the media tells us. But, I mean, just meet people, talk to people. Try not to make assumptions, and I mean, if you ever have questions, Google exists and it's a wonderful resource. Safe Zone also has wonderful educational resources. You can also find me on Instagram at convinced convince.vince.d. I'm more than happy to answer questions there.
So it's just convinced, but there's a dot between the N and the V, and the E and the D.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. That's
Yeah, convinced, but with
Yeah.
Vince.
yeah.
Me.
that-
Separate it out.
Yeah, that's his Instagram handle. You can always, and if you know my Instagram handle, you can just go to my
Yeah.
post. When
You
I
can
posted,
find
I
me.
tagged him,
Yep.
and then you can follow him up on Instagram as well. Well, thank you so much for doing this with
All right.
me.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I think we're going to talk about a lot other stuff. Probably not me interview you, but us
Yeah.
talking about different stuff,
Yeah.
and then we'll just post on the social media.
Yeah, that sounds
Yeah,
great.
but so I don't think that there are any more questions. My sister just joined us. Yeah, she said she wants to say hello to you.
Oh, well, hello.
Vera.
Oh, this
Her
way.
name is
Hello.
Vera. Yeah. Vera. You can say hello to Vera.
All right. Nice to meet you, Vera.
Yeah. All right. And so thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to everybody that joined us today, and to all my supporters. I have some very good supporters. I can never do without them. Hamid Hitzman. Hitzman is the producer of the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's always deciding what we should talk about. He said, why don't you put your friend on, the guy on the love, And he's always, so he was the one who, he's the one always putting up. And so, Hitman, thank you so much for the support all these years. He's been a tremendous friend.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we keep up a team. And then, thank you to Danielle as well, Danielle Dominguez. She's the one that set up this whole place for us
That's awesome.
today.
It looks
Yeah.
very nice.
You know what? Yeah, it looks nice. This is my office, but it wasn't like this before. She really did an excellent job. All right, Vince, we're going to talk more next time.
All right. That
All right?
sounds good. All right.
Thank you for being here.
Heck yeah.
All right, guys, we out. Thank you, guys. I'm going to end the stream now. Yep. Okay.